Ever wondered how to separate fighting dogs instantly? It's a question that has probably crossed your mind, especially if you're a dog owner or someone who frequently finds themselves in the company of our four-legged friends. After all, even the gentlest of pups can have their moments. Today, we're going to explore two main strategies to help diffuse such tense situations: using a barrier and physically separating the dogs. Each method comes with its own set of challenges and potential risks, but with the right knowledge and approach, you can ensure the safety of all parties involved. Remember, caution is your best friend here. It's not just about preventing harm to the dogs, but also about keeping yourself safe. So, whether you're a seasoned dog handler or a pet-curious individual, stick around as we delve into these life-saving techniques. Let's dive into Plan A, using a barrier. When dogs start fighting, it's instinctive to want to dive in and break it up. But before you do that, consider using a barrier. The first and safest method involves using water. If you have a hose nearby, spray the battling dogs. The sudden drenching can shock them, disrupting their aggressive behavior. If a hose isn't handy, pour a bowl of water over their heads. No bowl of water? Well, a cold carbonated drink can work wonders too. The fizz and chill could distract the dogs long enough for you to get control of the situation. But what if water isn't an option? That's where a thick blanket, towel, or tarp comes in. Covering the dogs can obscure their vision, potentially calming the situation. Even a jacket can help in a pinch. The idea is to make them lose sight of each other, which can often stop the fight. Sometimes you need something a bit more solid. A garbage can, a chunk of wood, a piece of cardboard, or even a folded lawn chair can be used to physically separate the dogs. The goal is to place a barrier between them, breaking their line of sight and creating a physical barrier they have to navigate around. Each of these methods has its own merits, and the best one to use depends on what's available to you at the time. The important thing is to act quickly and decisively. The longer the fight continues, the higher the risk of injury, for the dogs and for you. Remember, safety is paramount, both for you and the dogs. Never put yourself in a dangerous situation. If you're not sure you can safely intervene, it's better to call for help. If using a barrier isn't possible or doesn't work, it's time to move to Plan B, physically separating the dogs. When it comes to physically separating fighting dogs, there are some important steps to follow. It's a scenario we all hope to avoid, but being prepared can make all the difference. Now, if the situation escalates and other methods fail or aren't feasible, you'll need to step in physically. But remember, safety is paramount. Use your lower body if you're wearing pants, boots, or shoes. It's usually more protected than your hands. And let's not forget, your legs are stronger too. The aim here isn't to kick or hurt the dogs. We just want to create some distance between them. However, be mindful of the potential risks. This method isn't recommended for larger breeds like German Shepherds, as you could inadvertently get yourself bitten. If you need to get a hold of the dogs, try this technique. Approach the dogs with a helper or the other dog's owner if possible. The idea is to separate them simultaneously. Secure a firm grip on your dog's back legs near the top, just below the hips. Avoid grabbing the lower legs as it could cause severe injury. Then, lift your dog's back end like a wheelbarrow, with the hind legs off the ground. Start walking backwards. After a few steps, do a swift 180-degree turn. This spins your dog around so they're facing the opposite direction and can't see the other dog anymore. Once the dogs are separated, it's crucial to keep them out of each other's sight. Dogs can be stubborn, and they may start fighting again at the sight of each other. If possible, take your dog to the car or a closed room. If you don't have a leash handy, a belt or tie can serve as a temporary one. If you find yourself alone in this situation, tie one dog to a sturdy, immovable object and then remove the other dog to a different location. Remember, always stay calm. Dogs can sense your anxiety, and it could exacerbate the situation. This process may sound daunting, but with a clear mind and a steady hand, you can effectively separate fighting dogs and prevent further harm. Remember, once you've separated the dogs, keep them out of each other's sight to prevent further fights. It's all about ensuring the safety of the dogs and everyone around them. So, let's be prepared, stay vigilant, and act responsibly when our furry friends get a bit too rowdy. Once the dogs have been separated, the job isn't done yet. You've weathered the storm, but the clouds haven't completely cleared. There are still some critical steps to take to ensure the situation doesn't reignite. First and foremost, keep the dogs out of each other's sight. Dogs can be like siblings. One minute they're fighting, the next they're best friends again. But when it comes to serious dog fights, Seeing each other can be a trigger to resume the battle. So, whether you put your dog in the car, behind a closed door, or in another room, the key is to make sure they can't see each other. Now you might be thinking, what if I don't have a leash? Not to worry, we've got you covered. You can use a belt, a tie, or even a length of rope as a temporary leash. The idea is to have control over your dog until the situation is fully under control. Remember, safety first, style second. All right, you've separated the dogs, you've kept them out of sight, and you've got a makeshift leash. But what if you're alone? It's a bit like juggling flaming torches, isn't it? Well, here's a trick. Tie one dog to an immovable object, a tree, a sturdy fence, a heavy piece of furniture. Just make sure it's something that Fido won't drag around. Then, you can safely remove the other dog to another location. These actions are not just about dealing with the immediate aftermath. They're about preventing another clash, ensuring everyone's safety, and giving you time to think about the next steps. Maybe it's training, maybe it's a visit to the vet, or maybe it's mediation with the other dog's owner. But that's a conversation for another time. For now, remember, keep the dogs out of sight. Use what you have at hand for a temporary leash. And if you're alone, tie one dog to something sturdy while you handle the other. These steps will help you manage the situation after the dogs have been separated. Separating fighting dogs can be a daunting task, but with the right knowledge, it can be done safely. From the spray of a hose to a carefully positioned barrier, there are many methods to diffuse a canine conflict without resorting to physical intervention. However, if the situation calls for it, remember to use your lower body to create separation, protecting your hands and arms from potential bites. In case you need to physically separate the dogs, always approach with a partner if possible, grabbing your dog's back legs near the hips and lifting them off the ground like a wheelbarrow. Then, back away and spin your dog around, breaking their line of sight from the other dog. The aftermath is just as important. Keep the dogs separate and out of sight of each other to prevent reigniting the fight. Safety and caution are paramount in these situations. Remember, your actions can make the difference between escalation and resolution. We hope this video has been informative and helpful. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more useful tips and tricks for dog owners.